Hello, my students. I'm your biology teacher, Chief Govins. Our topic today is 8.3 Microorganisms and Viruses. Here are the learning standard. Number 1, identify the main characteristics of microorganisms and viruses, bacteria, protozoa, algae, fungi, and viruses. Number 2, describe the role of microorganisms in nitrogen cycle. Number 3, explain the role of microorganisms as producer, decomposer, symbionts, and parasites. Number 4, identify the terms pathogens and vector. Number 5, explain the effect of pathogens on human health. Microorganisms and viruses. Microorganisms are microscopic organisms that cannot be seen by the naked eyes. These organisms can only be observed under the microscope. Most microorganisms are unicellular. Microorganisms can be divided into a few types: bacteria, protozoa, fungi, algae, and viruses. Okay, we look at bacteria first. Bacteria do not have nucleus due to the lack of nuclear membranes. The genetic material exists in the form of chromosomal thread, free-floating inside the cytoplasm. Okay, this is the genetic material. There are no nuclear membranes and it is free-floating inside the cytoplasm. This is known as nucleoid. Okay, nucleoids. Some bacteria have plasmid, which is the small DNA molecule that carry extra genes. This is plasmid that carry extra genes for the bacteria. Bacteria range from 1 to 10 micrometer long. Bacteria can exist as a single cell, a diploid, in filaments, chain, or cluster. This is the general structure of bacteria. Bacteria can exist in a few basic shapes, such as the coccus, sphere, vibrio, coma, spirillums, spirals, bacillus, rod, and cylinder. Examples of bacteria include lactobacillus. This one lives in our body and that can help us break down food and absorb nutrients. Streptococcus, this one affects various areas of the body, skin, mild throat infection, and also pneumonia. Staphylococcus aureus, this one can cause skin infection but can cause pneumonia, heart valve infections, and bone infections. Protozoa. Main characteristics of protozoa. Protozoa are animal-like unicellular organisms. Protozoa move around using pseudopodia, cilia, or flagellums. This is amoeba, moved by using pseudopodia. This is paramecium, moved by using cilia. Cilia is a hair-like structure, extend from the cell body. And this is euglena, moved by using flagellums. This is flagellums. Okay. Protozoa are usually found in aquatic habitats. Protozoa are heterotroph or autotroph. Euglena, this one, is an autotrophic protozoa with chloroplasts that can undergo photosynthesis. Protozoa can be freely living or parasitic. Algae. Main characteristics of algae consists of unicellular organisms like Chlamydomonas. This is Chlamydomonas. And multicellular organisms such as brown algae, fucus. Some algae have flagellums to move in water. Okay, this is flagellums in Chlamydomonas. And like plants, algae have chloroplasts, and therefore algae can carry out process of photosynthesis. However, algae do not have leaves, stem, or roots like plants do. Algae live in ponds, lakes, and oceans. Fungi. Main characteristics of fungi. Fungi do not contain chlorophyll. Those fungi are heterotroph, either parasite or saprophytes. Fungi do not contain roots, stem, and leaf. Fungi have cell wall created by chitins. Fungi exist in the form of myceliums, which is made up of a network of threads called the hyphae. This is hyphae. Okay, this is the structure of the fungi. This is columella. This is sporangiums. When sporangium matured, it produces spore, and this is sporangiophore, and this is the roots. We call it rhizoid. Okay. Fungi are unicellular organisms. For example, Saccharomyces cerevisiae or yeast. Okay, this is Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Or multicellular organism, mucor. This one, mucor. Fungi are found in dark or moist places. and on decomposing or dead organisms. Viruses. Main characteristics of viruses. Viruses are not included in any of the kingdoms because they are not cellular organisms. The virus do not carry out any life process outside of the cell. Nonetheless, viruses reproduce using living cells by injecting their genetic material into host cells. Viruses are made up of nucleic acids, DNA or RNA, and capsid made from proteins. This is the structure of human immunodeficiency virus or HIV. Okay, this is the RNA, enzymes, capsid, and glycoproteins. The size of a virus is too small, about 20 nanometer to 400 nanometer. Therefore, virus cannot be seen using a light microscope, but can only be seen using an electron microscope. Example of virus are tobacco mosaic virus. Okay, this one. Infect a wide range of plants, especially tobacco leaf. This is T4 bacteriophage. This one literally means bacteria eater because destroy their host cells. And this is HIV, and this is coronavirus, which is caused by severe acute respiratory syndromes. The virus was first identified in December 2019 in Wuhan, China. The role of microorganisms in the nitrogen cycles. Plants require nitrogen to synthesize proteins in plant tissue, and this nitrogen is obtained from the soil in the form of ammonium ions and nitrate ions. So this is the nitrogen cycles. Nitrogen-fixing bacteria that live in the root nodules of legumes like rhizobiums, and freely living nitrogen-fixing bacteria in the soil such as Azotobacter fix the nitrogens from the atmosphere and change it into ammonium ions via the nitrogen-fixing process. So this is rhizobiums that live in the root nodules of legumes, and this is Azotobacter live in the soils. So these two bacteria converts nitrogens to ammonium ions, and this process is known as nitrogen-fixing process. Lightning in a thunderstorm oxidizes nitrogens to nitrogen dioxides, which dissolve in rainwater to form nitrous acid and nitric acid. Both form nitrate salt in the soil. So this is lightning process to produce nitrate in the soils. Industrial fertilizer provide ammoniums, fertilizer, and nitrate in the soils. When you fertilize your plants, you actually provide ammonium and nitrate in the soils. When plant and animal die, decomposition is carried out by decomposer such as bacteria and saprophytic fungi. Protein in the body tissue will be broken down into ammonium ions via ammonifications. So this is dead organism and animal waste and decomposed by decomposer such as bacteria and fungi into ammonium ions. Ammonium ions are converted into nitrite ions via nitrifications by nitrifying bacteria, Nitrosomonas. Here is ammonium is converted into nitrite by Nitrosomonas, and then nitrite ion will be converted into nitrite ions by the nitrifying bacteria, Nitrobacter. Here, nitrite is converted into nitrates by Nitrobacter, so Nitrosomonas and Nitrobacter is known as nitrifying bacteria. The nitrate will then be absorbed by plant roots and used to synthesize proteins. When the plants are eaten by animals, nitrogen gets transferred to the animal tissue. So the nitrates absorbed by the plant roots used to synthesize proteins, and then when the plants are eaten by animals, nitrogen gets transferred to the animal tissue. The nitrifying bacteria convert nitrate in the soil into nitrogen gas through the nitrifications process. So this is the nitrates convert into nitrogen by the nitrifying bacteria. The role of microorganisms. Microorganisms as producer, decomposer, parasites, and symbionts. Microorganisms like phytoplankton are usually found floating on the surface of the oceans, ponds, or lakes. For instance, green algae, blue-green algae or cyanobacteria, dinoflagellates, and diatoms. As they have chlorophyll, phytoplanktons can undergo process of photosynthesis. 70% of Earth's oxygen production is from phytoplanktons. Phytoplankton is important to aquatic ecosystems as producer in food chains. Decomposer. Saprophytic fungi and saprophytic bacteria are important microorganisms that decompose organic material from dead organisms. Saprophytic fungi and bacteria are known as decomposer. Decomposer break down complex organic material such as animal waste, carcasses, and rotting tree into simple compounds such as ammoniums. Decomposer secrete digestive enzymes into the decaying organic material that absorb the product of the digestive process. The product of this process contain important elements required by plants such as carbon, nitrogen, and sulfur, which are returned to the soil. These materials are then absorbed by plants. These are examples of saprophytic fungi, and this is saprophytic bacteria. Parasites. In a parasitic relationship, the parasite benefits from the relationship while the host is harmed, or sometimes die from the negative effects caused by the parasites. Parasites will continue to benefit for as long as these interactions continue. Hence, most parasites try not to kill their hosts. One of the examples of parasitic microorganisms is Plasmodiums, a protozoa that live inside the female Anopheles mosquito and transmit malaria to anyone who is bitten by the mosquito when the parasite is transferred into the blood circulation system of the persons. This is Plasmodiums, and this is a female mosquito Anopheles. Symbionts. A symbiont is an organism which has a close relationship with another organism known as the host. There are two types of symbionts, ectosymbiont and endosymbionts. Ectosymbionts is organisms that live outside the host cells. Examples are ectomycorrhiza, fungi which live around the plant's roots. This is the example of ectomycorrhiza. And another one is endosymbionts, live inside the host cells. Example are protozoa trichonympha, which live in the alimentary canal of termites. Definitions of pathogens and vector. Pathogens. A pathogen is an organism which causes diseases, for example, viruses, bacteria, protozoa, and fungi. In Form 2, you have learned about the pathogens that cause infectious disease. An infection is caused when a pathogen such as a virus, bacteria, or any other microorganisms enter the body, divide, and multiply. The disease caused by pathogens will occur when the cells inside the body are damaged. This is caused by the infections and the infected person show the symptoms. This is Vibrio cholerae, spread through contaminated water and foods, attack the wall of the small intestines, and cause diarrhea and vomiting. This is Staphylococcus aureus. This one can cause pneumonia. Vector. Some pathogens are caused by other organisms such as mosquito and fly. These organisms are known as vector. Vector are organisms which transmit pathogens and cause certain diseases. For example, Musca domestica. This is a housefly. The bacteria Vibrio cholerae is spread among humans through fly. When a person consumes food that has been contaminated by Vibrio cholerae, they might get cholera. The dengue virus is transmitted to humans through Aedes aegypti mosquito bites. This is Aedes aegypti, the mosquito. Salmonella typhi bacteria are transmitted to humans through food and water that has been contaminated by cockroach. This is Periplaneta americana, the cockroach. These are examples of disease vector. The effects of pathogens on human health. Pathogens disrupt the immunity systems in many ways. Viruses or bacteria cause sickness when they disturb cell functions or cause cell damage. Some pathogens release toxins that could lead to paralysis or destroy metabolic activity in the body. This table shows the symptoms of disease caused by pathogens. Pathogen virus. Example of disease is hepatitis B. Symptom of disease is inflammations or hepatic cirrhosis, swollen chest, skin or eye sclera become yellowish, may cause fatalities. Pathogen bacteria, example of disease is tuberculosis. Symptom of disease, loss of weight, coughing blood, shortness of breath. Pathogen protozoa, example of disease, dysentery. Symptom of disease, stomach ache, diarrhea, and vomits. Pathogen fungi, example of disease is Tinea versicolor, whitish or pinkish patches on the skins. Formalities practice 8.3. Here are the questions. Question number 1. Why are viruses not classified into one of the 6 kingdoms? The answer is, when outside a living host cells, the virus exists as a crystal and is not considered a living thing because it does not carry out any life processes. Question number 2. Why don't parasites kill their hosts? If the hosts die, the parasite can no longer obtain any more benefit from the host. Question number 3. What is the meaning of symbionts? Explain the type of symbionts. A symbiont is an organism which has a close relationship with another organism known as the host. There are 2 types of symbionts, ectosymbionts and endosymbionts. Ectosymbionts are organisms that live outside of the host cells, while endosymbionts are organisms that live inside the host cells. Question number 4. State the meaning of pathogens. Give 3 examples of pathogens and their vector. Pathogens are microorganisms that spread diseases. Example, pathogens Vibrio cholerae, the vector is fly. Pathogens dengue virus, the vector is mosquito. Pathogens Salmonella typhi, the vector is cockroach. That's all for today. See you in next lessons. Thank you and bye-bye.